This video is part 1 of the SNAPP screen system installation series and will cover installation step number 1, measuring openings and calculating materials. Tools required for this step include a tape measure, pen or pencil, and a pad. There are no supplies required.
Now this video is centered around determining materials, calculating what you're going to need for the project. And the first step for you is to just draw a very basic drawing of your porch, each side, each opening, and then measure each opening. Now your numbers don't have to be exact. You don't have to get down to the 32nd of an inch. You just need to have the general idea of what the openings are. Half inch is fine because you're going to be doing a lot of rounding and adding on to make the numbers easier to work with. In this particular porch, we have two sides and a front. Our side openings are very similar, 37 by 81, 39 by 81 basically, but they are at a square in a couple of places. Now again, with the SNAPP extrusion, it really doesn't matter if these are at a square by 10, 12, 15, 30, 40 inches. SNAPP is going to adapt to the opening, and you're going to screen it in just like you would any other normal opening, so it doesn't really matter how out of square the opening itself is. In this case, we have 39, 37, 37 and a half, 37. So for the two sides, we're going to assume, for calculating of materials purposes, that every opening is 39 inches wide. Our height on the two sides is already 81, so that's uniform. Now in the front, we have two different dimensions. We have a 48 and a 49. Again, for ease of calculating the materials, we're going to assume that the front is all 49 inches wide and they're all 81 inches high. Now what you have to determine is whether you're going to add 2 inches or 4 inches. And these are what we do in the field in determining materials when we're pricing jobs and advising customers what to get for materials. On an inside mount, in other words where you're mounting the extrusion inside the opening, we're going to add 2 inches to our common number. So the 39 becomes a 41 inch opening or a 41 inch length. Our 81 becomes an 83 and our 49 becomes a 51. Now these are the numbers we're going to use to calculate materials. If we were doing the extrusion around the opening, we would add 4 inches to each one of these dimensions. But in this case, we're going inside the opening, so we're only adding 2. Now once we do that and we break down all the numbers, we come up with a materials list of 83 inches, 41 inches, and 51 inches. 14 pieces at 83, 8 pieces at 41, 6 pieces at 51. Now if we're not going to reuse drops and we're just going to use full length extrusions and cut them and install them, we need 21 pieces of SNAPP. If we're going to utilize the drops, all we're going to do is calculate out the total number of linear inches of material. This comes up to 1,796 inches. Divide by 96 inches for the aluminum SNAPP or 99 inches for the PVC SNAPP. Here we're using aluminum. Comes out to 18.7 lengths. Obviously we're rounding up to 19 lengths. Now if you have trouble calculating out how to figure this out using no drops, using drops is a piece of cake. You're just adding up and dividing. That's easy. If you're having trouble figuring out the no drop method, send us this information. Don't send us this, send us this. Your materials list, number of pieces at the total inches. We don't want fractions, we want full inches, and the number of pieces will optimize out how many pieces of SNAPP you'll need. Now once you have this, now it's a piece of cake at this point, because now all you need to figure out is the rest of your materials list. Your total inches of SNAPP is 1796, divide up by feet, that's 150 feet of spline. Spline is only available in 500-foot rolls, so you need 1 roll of spline. Your screws are either going to be 10 per length for PVC or 6 to 7 screws per length for aluminum. So once you multiply that out, you either need to add 300 or 200 screws to your order. Your spline tool, your 3/32 nylon wheel tool, we're going to add that to the order. Screen material. Based upon your openings now, you have to try and maximize screen to the largest opening you have. In this case, it's 49 inches. It's normally cheaper to buy 1 roll of screen, even if it's larger than everything else, than it is to buy multiple rolls. Some jobs, depending on the size, it may work out, but in most it's not going to on a homeowner's project. In this case, a 49-inch roll is not going to work on around the opening, and it's just going to fit inside the opening. So you need to go up to the 60-inch roll to make it work. You're going to have a lot of waste on the rest of the openings, we understand that, but that's really the only way you're going to be able to screen the porch is to buy a 60-inch roll. You can go with an 84 and go laterally, but you're going to use less material off the 84-inch roll, so it's better that you just go with the 60-inch. It's going to be more cost effective. Now, in terms of your snap, you already figured out you're going to need 21 or 19 based upon whether you're going to use the drops or not use the drops. Standard recommendation is always order one more length. On a commercial project or larger projects where you're going to be ordering hundreds of lengths of snap, recommendation is 5 to 10% extra just in case, because you never know what's going to crop up. Now, this covers the vast majority of projects. If you have openings where you're going to be seaming extrusions together, in other words, your openings are 110 inches high, 120 inches high, and a 96-inch piece is not going to work. Well, the first thing you do is you take out the 96-inch section, assume that's a full length, and then work with the remainder as the piece you have to purchase now or the piece you have to cut now. That's the only time you're going to have a problem. But remember, the snap extrusion splices together, so you can continue on as long as you need to. And you can use the drops. We recommend that you don't use drops less than 12 inches long. On PVC, you really shouldn't use drops less than 2 feet long. But for the most part, it's a very simple, very straightforward product to use. Now, if you have any problems at all or any questions at all, our email and our phone number are going to be at the end of the slide, and you just give us a call or email us. We're happy to help you. And again, if you have trouble figuring out your material, don't send us the porch diagram. That we don't want, because we're not going to break these numbers down for you. Send us this information here, just the total number of pieces in full inches. And then we'll calculate out what you need in terms of material, and we'll even give you the cut sheet with the order once you order the product.